Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 259 of the Near Media Podcast. And today we have a very special group of panelists with us to talk about Google I/O, the announcements, and the implications for marketers of all of that stuff. We've got Krystal Taing, Cindy Krum, and Greg Gifford. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for doing
Oh,
this.
Thanks for having us. Always fun to talk with you guys.
Nobody probably needs any introductions to the three of you that's listening to this, but is there anything you want to say about yourselves? What did you have for breakfast? Why did you choose what you're wearing? That kind of thing. No?
I
Who's
had
start?
coffee so far today.
You've had coffee? And you're on the East Coast, so it's like 11 o'clock, 11:15 for you at this point.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a smoothie waiting for me, so that's next.
okay. So we want to talk about Google I/O, which just happened last weekish, or maybe longer. Time is a strange thing.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, okay. And there was a lot of stuff that came out of Google I/O and then the companion event, Google Marketing Live, which deals with advertising. We're not going to get to all of it, but we're going to try and talk about what we think are the most important things. So why don't we start with you guys just telling us what you thought was really interesting, significant about either event. Cindy, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. I am fascinated to watch as time progresses, Google I/O become less and less about search and more about just AI and video. And I think people are undervaluing or under kind of speculating on why video is so important to Google.
Why is video so important to Google?
It's where the money is.
Because of brand advertising?
Yeah, brand advertising, any kind of advertising, and they're threatened by the engagement that TikTok gets, and it's good for discovery and social and all the data.
And they already have a monopoly there.
Yeah.
Okay, Krystal, what do you think was really interesting or important out of I/O?
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that Google's moving really from kind of answers to action. Of course, we know that Google wants the answer to be able to compare and recommend directly there, but that their goal is to transact inside that experience. I think, the shopping is really taking center stage and a lot of the integrations happening directly in the SERP or within the messaging and all of the apps to see a lot of that taking center stage at I/O. There was a lot of instances there.
So you're excited about the movement from answers to action, but how should marketers feel about that? I can imagine publishers and some folks not being super excited about that development.
Yeah, I think I work with a lot of enterprise brands that are building agentic experiences, that actually that's cutting down a lot of steps for them. So I think integrating a lot of those has been a goal for quite a while. I think cutting a lot of the third party elements that they've been doing. So I think in those aspects, it's been a benefit. Of course, there's areas and opportunities where it might be a challenge or, potentially impeding on some businesses. But I think there's areas where it is an opportunity for businesses and brands and enterprises to kind of gain in some of those aspects.
Well, you could, for example, think about the hotel industry, right, which has been kind of under the thumb of the OTAs and the aggregators and the middlemen. And this is a kind of an opportunity for them to to sort of acquire the consumer directly. We'll
Exactly.
see.
Exactly.
We'll see. All right, Greg Gifford, last but not least, for sure.
Not last. I'm here.
Well, you
Next
don't
one.
count, Mike. Yeah, okay.
I
All right.
I do.
Okay,
I mean-
next penultimate speaker.
For me, everybody has been saying for months leading up to I/O that, oh my gosh, they're finally going to roll out AI mode as the default. And I never thought they were going to do that. And I actually still don't think they'll ever do that. So for me, I just kind of giggled when everybody came out of it and was like, they decided not to go AI mode. And I'm like, come on, guys, they're not going to do it yet. Because like we were talking about before we started recording, they haven't figured out how to monetize it correctly. And they're not going to just cut off all their advertising dollars. So I think that while it's fun to kind of giggle at all the people that were like, oh, it's so shocking they didn't do it, I think it's also encouraging for businesses, especially small businesses that are really freaked out by AI search and really freaked out by declining traffic and really freaked out about what happens when we do go, if we ever go full AI mode. And I think people kind of breathed a bit of a sigh of relief that, okay, it's still kind of business as usual for a little while still.
All right, Mike.
For me, it was the TPUs and the fact that they're both selling them, leasing them, and driving their cost of inference way down. Not only do they have more capital to compete in this market than everybody else, they have more technology, and they're going to bring every bit of it to bear, full stack from the phone on up to the power generation and the data centers with their own TPUs and very efficient compute, which means that they're going to be able to deliver AI answers faster, easier, cheaper than anybody on the planet, which to me indicates that they will retain their monopoly position unfettered.
So my thought, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that was really interesting. I didn't watch Google Marketing Live. I didn't watch the keynote, but the thing that was striking there was the different 4 ad units that are new, sort of interactive, more AI friendly ad units that they announced, which is something that ChatGPT talked about, but still hasn't really shown up with. And that kind of unlocks the door to migrating the SERP into a much more AI-y experience. But the totality of everything that they talked about, like the generative interface, the sort of ad hoc little apps that they'll create to answer your questions, the agents, the way in which they're really trying to push people into AI mode, just very aggressively, making the search box sort of elastic and more AI friendly so that you ask these long queries, these very high specific intent queries, and then they send you into AI mode. And the AI overviews now also look kind of more like AI mode, right? If you notice the source panel on the right, that's sort of indistinguishable. So the merger of AI overviews to some degree in AI mode. There was just all these things that suggested they're really kind of moving to this closed loop environment where it's like, back to 10 blue links, it was all get you in, get you out. And then it was like, okay, there's more stuff to keep you on Google, keep you within the Google ecosystem. And now this seems to be the final step where you're going to not only get all the information you need, which is derived from third-party content sources, but we're going to give you the answers, and we're going to let you take whatever action you want to take, booking the hotel room, booking the restaurant reservation, buying the product.
Or we'll
The
take the action for you.
Right, right. Well, yeah, that's the ultimate step, right?
A digital circle jerk.
Well, this is a family podcast, Mike.
Yes, I know it isn't. I always mark it as not appropriate for children.
Children are the biggest segment of our audience, in case you didn't realize that. But anyway, just the way in which they are going to satisfy all of your needs without the need to send you off to a third-party publisher site. Now, as you say, Krystal, for certain categories of businesses, enterprises, marketers, this is great because it may cut out the middleman or make it simpler, remove some of the friction from doing some of the things that people tried to do before. But for a lot of people like news publishers or content publishers or e-commerce sites, certainly Amazon or eBay or Etsy or these folks that have brands and want to be destinations, I think it's really a double-edged thing or totally a negative depending on your point of view.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, there's things that I just personally feel I would never want to do on Google. Like a reservation, fine. But I don't think I would ever want to complete a purchase on Google. That could potentially change. But, I still like the experience of going to the website, the branding and those types of things. So, it'll be interesting to see if behaviors change over time for consumers. So I'm assuming Google has behavior data that says there are people that do want to do those types of things on Google. But I know I wouldn't want to complete a lot of purchases on Google.
I'm going to disagree with you on this. I would prefer the reason I do so many purchases on Amazon, unfortunately, I wish I didn't, is because it's reliable, predictable, and I know I don't have to learn anything new. Like having had to deal with so many different websites in so many different countries and all the different forums and whatever, I hate that. I hate converting on a website that I don't know. And they always make you sign up and all that. I think Google probably does have a pretty good idea that there are a lot of people out there like me that as long as they create the trust, like with Amazon, I trust that I can return stuff if it doesn't work out. If Google creates that kind of trust where people, it's just kind of like a non-issue, you just buy it, and if it doesn't work, you just deal with it, and you're not penalized?
Well, the two things, just real quickly on the Amazon Google thing, because Google has for a long time been trying to claw back shopping
Yeah.
from Amazon, and they tried their own shopping cart, hosting their own shopping cart, which did not work. This Universal Commerce Protocol is a return to that strategy, and it's much more likely to work this time. But what they don't have is they don't have Prime free shipping, and they don't have easy returns where you can, like, Amazon has built out this returns infrastructure, which is really significant
Yeah,
and
you're right.
contributes to the trust factor that you're talking about.
Well, and
Huge.
big time Amazon users don't even go to Google to search for those products. They just
Of
go right
course.
to either Amazon.com or the Amazon app and do their shopping there. So whether Google tries to do this or not isn't going to even affect the hardcore Amazon users. So I think they're trying to figure out how to capture the other people and to maybe lure the Amazon people away.
Well, and if Google can lure not just customers, but Amazon sellers, if Google is less
Yeah.
problematic to deal with, because Amazon is quite problematic to deal with if you're a seller.
Well, and one of the things that Google seems to consistently say about where its revenues are coming from is retail is a huge, huge category for them.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
it's a major advertising category, and so combine if Greg, they're successful in getting more people or whatever incremental audiences to come back to Google and buy stuff on Google, then that translates into more ad revenue for them. And they also have shopping ads. One of the native ad formats they announced was a shopping format that is the only one of the four that will live on traditional search at this moment as opposed to AI mode, and it has a checkout feature within the ad, right? So this is all part of like I mean, ultimately all this rolls up to ad revenue for them, I suspect, and maybe some subscription revenue.
I mean, I did see that Shopify partnered with Google on UCP, so it could be a
Amazon
strategy.
too. Amazon
But
too.
I think this is
right,
where maybe I'm skipping ahead a bit of elements we're supposed to talk about, but I think this is where personal intelligence is a really smart play from Google because let's say I ordered something on Amazon a year ago, 2 years ago, and now I need to get a replacement for that product, but I don't remember that I got it on Amazon, and I go do a Google search. Google can now say, "Well, you've purchased from this retailer before and gotten this thing. Do you want me to just get it for you?" And I think that's where we're going with this UCP stuff, that as the agentic experience becomes more the norm, you ask any sort of simple question, and with Google really kind of getting a lot of the people to use AI mode and AI overviews, really easy to pop that personal intelligence data in there and say, oh, well, you're looking for a sushi place. You went to this place 3 years ago and gave it a 5-star review and wrote this long review. Do you want to just go back there? You don't even see a map pack anymore. So I think that personal intelligence where it's looking at everything it knows about you and giving you specific recommendations based on your purchase history and your physical visits in the past, I think that's a really smart play for them to claw back some of these customers.
I would just a note. I mean, personal intelligence certainly puts them deeper into your inbox and every place else. But even without it, I did an analysis of ChatGPT and Gemini's understanding of who I am just from my queries over the last 6 months. And it knows so much about me that it inferred from the AI queries that even without personal intelligence, it could pretty much predict what I'm going to do next. So personal intelligence certainly adds frosting to that cake, but it's not even essential for what they want to do.
Yeah, they're already winning regardless. It's
So
better already.
just a quick note to clarify for people that don't know what personal intelligence is, which is probably not many. It's opting in to allow them to incorporate Gmail, YouTube, and your
Photos, I think.
and your calendar probably and photos and calendars coming. I don't know if calendar is currently integrated, but a bunch of stuff to personalize your all of these interactions, right? Recommendations and search results. And so, and then as Mike says, Google knows so much about you already that they almost don't need it in order to do some version of this. And think about the extension of, so we had Garrett Sussman on talking about his experiments with personalization. And he was saying that these fake profiles that they used to test this, where they hooked up Gmail, they were getting different product recommendations based on Gmail. and what was in the history. And so you could imagine AI overviews, AI mode, and to some degree, maps, other stuff really being highly personalized in the future. You and I do the same searches about, you know, sushi restaurants in New York City, and you're getting where you went before and recommendations based on your your persona, right? They're going to bucket you and turn you into personas. And one of
100%.
the go ahead.
They've been doing that in ads for years with the cohort mapping that they do in ads. Why wouldn't they be doing it to a larger degree in regular organic search, especially if they can see a way to monetize it, keeping people engaged in a search or engaged with a chatbot to give them the right answer based on their cohort or based on what they know about not just who they are specifically, but who they are as a part of a larger group, where they've already mapped this interaction and this engagement from people who look like you, act like you, shop like you, so they know where you're going to convert and what they have to show you to get you to convert.
Do you think they
Yeah.
will allow advertisers to target demographically in addition to intent?
They already do to some degree, but I think Google wants to keep that data for themselves. That's why in the announcements at the advertising conference, it's like you've nearly been disintermediated from your ads altogether. Like you don't actually get to control in a very strong-handed way anything based on their new T's and C's.
I was going to say, I feel like it's already so personal. How much more personal can it get?
Well,
Probably.
ads are personal, but organic is less personal, but it will get more personal.
So before we sort of get into anything tactical, what about this agent that they announced, Spark? I guess it's now available. I haven't used it, but people are starting to write about it. It's I guess going to incorporate access to all this information to the extent that you hook that up, and it's part of this larger agentic play that they're doing. But where do you think that fits in the mix of search? I mean, it's really unclear where this will live exactly. It's part of Gemini, but presumably it's going to be broadly available. So how is this going to affect like Ask Maps or general search? What are your thoughts on that? Because it's a little ambiguous to me.
Strong thoughts. Greg,
Go ahead. Go
Greg,
ahead.
what do you have?
I'm interested to hear what you say.
I want to hear what you say too, though. I think they're going to use the Spark agents to map what is a process that starts with this and ends with this, and then generalize that to hone the mapping for cohort advertising. Yeah, like it's the same as the freaking canonical tag in hreflang. They're asking us to teach them how to do stuff.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Maybe I'm a little too tinfoil hatty when it comes to Google, but I think
I don't think you could be too
play,
tinfoil hatty.
right. I think this
They
entire
managed
play,
to exceed our biggest expectations of abuse. They've managed to exceed them. So
yeah, they're getting everyone to help train the models. That's all it is. They just want help with training because it's much easier to go, hey, here's this cool new thing, try it out, and have everybody go do it and see how people use it and go, okay, this is how we need to build it in the future.
If everyone builds their Spark agents to do this, then do that, then check Wikipedia for this, and then do this, this, and this, but someone else or some other group of people build all their agents to check Britannica.com, right? Then Google's going to be like, which one's getting better engagement? Which one's working better? This one is. And they're going to reward the pieces of the process that survive, across different agents.
Very interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but so are you guys? Let's talk about Ask Maps a little bit, because this is sort of we had a dedicated session on Ask Maps, and it seems Ask Maps predates IO, but it was present in IO and certainly in the background for me. You guys are all using it or have used it, right?
Yes.
And what do you think about it? Do you like it? Do you not like it? You're indifferent?
I've only used it to play with it and test it. I don't use it to actually use it because I have a need to use it.
So I do use it. I wasn't using Google Maps at all. I had totally abandoned Google Maps for Apple Maps. And then when Ask Maps showed up and I started testing it, I thought, oh, this is cool and flexible and better. And I use it. I actually use it. The thing I don't like about it is that there's too much text, right? They're going to give you War and Peace every time you do a search. But that's not something that but the flexibility is great and it expands. I mean, spoke about this before. It really expands the stuff you can do with maps. What's going on in San Francisco this weekend? Hey, I'm going over here at this time and I need a place that's over here. And, it just really makes Ask Maps a much more versatile tool. And you don't
It
have
turns maps into a true discovery environment, which
right.
maps has
That's right.
never been. It's always
Right.
been a recovery environment.
But it's
And
the closed loop too. If they can get Ask Maps incorporated into more and more digital cars, right? The digitally oriented car interfaces, then they have a full closed loop of what did you ask, where did you end up?
Right.
so absolutely. But and
Android too. Android can
Android,
do that
right?
also.
Android car, Android. I like Greg have been switched over 100% to Apple for the last 3 months. I've been playing with Ask Maps. I went to New York last weekend, used Ask Maps a lot. And what I see about IO that's going to improve Ask Maps dramatically is a better interface, an expanding query box with an integrated query instead of two places to ask questions, you get one. And the second thing is this ability to build interfaces on the fly. Maps has become the dumping ground for everything local guides, map maker, GBP, everything has been thrown into Maps and it's a shit show. And their announcements promise the potential of cleaning it up and making it a truly great environment where you can discover anything local. And I see that as really significant.
Well,
Early days, but really significant.
I think part of it too is, again, they're trying to like. I still feel like the AI models haven't really cracked local search yet.
Not at all.
It's really affecting a lot of, e-com and other research oriented things. But with local, it still hasn't figured it out yet because the models aren't deterministic. They don't have that local information, and none of the models are none of the companies that run the models are gonna go out and try to remap the world. They all have to rely on real world map data. And so if Google can do this cool AI stuff in maps that people don't even realize what Ask Map is, they just start having these conversations in there. Again, we're training them on how local searches work and what people are doing when they're in the app. I'm going to be in Barcelona next week, and if I use it and I'm asking questions, I'm
It
also
doesn't work in Europe.
on what people are going to do in the future with local.
Yeah. I will say that's
Go
been one
ahead.
of the feedback from my team is like, when is it getting released in Europe? Because a lot of my coworkers
Well,
are like,
yeah.
I'd love to test it out. So it doesn't work in Europe yet. And but that is one of the things is like all it is using is content and photos and reviews and videos. Like that's all that AI understands about local is contextual information. So I think it is the only start to AI when it comes to local search. And it is the best attempt that I think Google's done when it comes to local.
But it breaks some of the
Yeah.
boundaries of their previous algorithm, which was so
Yes.
brittle, right? It has to be
Yes.
this many locations within this radius. You can give it all kinds of crazy relevant geographic phrases. Oh, and I only want to walk 15 minutes and I want some sort of Asian food that has a 5-star rating that's
Does a
open on
really good
Monday
job.
nights. Does a
And it
really good
works.
job.
And it
And
works. That's the important thing.
In the
Right.
US.
In the US.
Well, it works in Mexico because that's where I first used
Yeah,
it.
North America, I think. I think
Right.
in North America it works. And that's one of the things we've been pushing for is asking. It might be the UK and Australia. I think they've started expanding to English speaking countries outside of North America. But that's one of the things a lot of my coworkers are like, when is it when's it expanding? Because they want to start testing it out too.
It's just a better experience because think about if I was coming to Denver and I'd never been to Denver before, I would ask Cindy, hey, what are some cool places to go to? Or where would you recommend that I go if
In groups.
Denver's famous for breweries, where should I go? And it's not going to be, this is the one with the best reviews, or this is the one that's closest to you. It's going to be the places that she's been to, and she's going to give me reasons why she likes those breweries. And Ask Maps is a lot more of that type of experience than just going and you're sorting on distance or review count.
An example query I gave it last weekend was there were three families that were my college roommates, husbands and spouses, one in Brooklyn, one in central New York, one in the Upper West Side. And I asked it to provide a breakfast restaurant that took reservations, had brunch on Sundays, that was equidistant by subway from the three parties. And it did it. And it did a good job. And
So I want to make a couple of quick points, and I'm probably not going to get them all out. So there was so one of the things you can do, Greg, that's kind of consistent with the hey Cindy, what are your favorite places? Is you could say I like. Where do you live, Greg?
Dallas.
Okay, I like these kinds of places in Dallas. Show me places in Denver that are similar. You know, you could do that kind of thing. And there was a guy, and I'm forgetting his name, unfortunately, who built a. You remember? Everybody remember Pandora? It was kind of a human map of. I mean, Pandora's still around, but nobody uses it. It was a map of like song styles, musical styles, so they could, you like this. This is similar to it. And there was a guy who became whose startup got acquired by Google, and then he became quite a significant. And I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. Figure in the on the ad side, I think. And what they were doing was they were trying to do that for the real world. This place over here is like these places over here, so that's a kind of interesting thing that they can start factoring in. But to the UI point that you made, Greg, I know from a lot of survey work around AI versus search, people really like the AI user experience. Put aside the quality of the data, they really like the AI user experience, and they like it better than traditional Google. So even if ChatGPT were to die tomorrow, they would continue pushing in this direction because they get much more data from the user and people really like it. People like AI overviews. They like AI mode. They don't necessarily trust all the data, but they like the user experience. And for local, most people have tried to do local searches in AI, but they don't do them frequently versus other kinds of things because of this data problem. And the people that are using ChatGPT for local search very often will go to Google immediately afterwards to check directions or reviews or whatever. Google's true competitive advantage, I mean, put aside personal intelligence, which may take hold and all this, and their monopoly and their ecosystem, the true advantage that they have over ChatGPT or Claude or anybody is their local data, right? It's always been this like off to the side thing. Oh, it's not really that important, or it's important, but it's not as big a deal as other stuff. It is the core of their competitive differentiation at this point. Now that may, their monopoly, their personal inform, all their data about you, their shopping data, blah, blah, blah. That all may combine into, an impenetrable moat, but local is just so strategically important to them, and they don't acknowledge it. They
I was
never
going to say, did
acknowledge
they
it.
know that?
They
They
do. When they went to the hearings in Europe on the
Yeah, of
DMA
course.
hearings,
DMA. Yeah.
they defined local as not under discussion. It's just built into search, right? In other words, they protected local despite the attack on hotels, airplanes, and all the other shopping. They sort of refused to engage in a conversation about local. I mean, and made it quite clear that it was part and parcel of their search world.
Yeah.
So
No,
yes, they
I know
do.
now. I've been in meetings now where they've recognized it, but I think it's a recent realization
in the
that,
wake of all
yeah.
the AI stuff, right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
ironically,
No, I think they know now.
we've been talking about it for 20 freaking years, and it's like,
Yeah.
so
Interesting limit though on Ask Maps is it has no inventory information, no product information in there.
yes, and that's huge. That's huge.
Yes.
That's something they don't fully appreciate. Who's the guy that's running Bill Reddy, the guy that became the CEO of Pinterest? He was running e-commerce for Google. And I talked to him about local inventory, right? I said, this is a huge deal. You have to push more into this. And they were doing they have Merchant Center and whatever, but they've been kind of casual about it. And their argument against Amazon is, hey, you can come to us, you can get both online and offline inventory. But they never committed to it they never fully committed to it. They bought what was the thing for small businesses that they bought that
Pointy.
were Pointy, yes. So they
Yeah.
bought Pointy, and they sort of squandered that opportunity. They moved those guys over to the enterprise, whatever, to some software team. They were small business facing, and then they just sort of abandoned that. But the idea that I could go to Ask Maps and say, so my daughter, who lives in New York now, is now her college roommate is having a destination wedding in Mallorca, TMI. But so anyway, so she's flown there. She flew there last night. And she's like, I don't have a power adapter. I don't have a power adapter for my phone and my laptop. because she gave them all back to me. Bad mistake. Anyway, so she's like, I got to get one. And she had a short time. And so what did I do? I got on Ask Maps and I said, where's the nearest place on the Lower East
In
Side of New
stock now.
York that's in stock? And Google could not answer that question. It said Best Buy, Target, maybe this electronics store. And it was good enough that I got on the phone and I called and I said, hey, this is the closest one to you where you can go buy it. And they have it. But if Google could answer that in stock now question, where's the nearest business to me, blah, 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 blah. That's a huge thing for consumers. Consumers have wanted that forever and ever and ever. It's a difficult problem to solve with small businesses, but it's not impossible. I mean, the
Even
point. Yeah, go
even
ahead.
huge businesses though really struggle to understand their own inventory situation. Like
Yeah.
businesses like Target and Walmart can't guarantee that they have XYZ in stock. They can just say like, looks like we do. We're not sure though.
Yeah,
But
well, and
but
their
e-
website will say they have it, and then you get there and they don't actually have
No.
it, and even their in-store systems can't tell you if it's actually in stock or not.
Exactly. So if Google could solve that problem, then they would be even more closed loop. And that would be a huge advantage for them. If anyone from Google is
it
watching,
would
maybe
be
acquire
it
some more.
would exactly. It would be a huge advantage over Amazon because if people could easily find out where in their area they could buy something, people would 30% of that online shopping behavior would go away. Because I need it today. I mean, even though notwithstanding the Amazon Now thing, I need it today. I want to support local business. But the Pointy methodology, I mean, we're getting far afield of IO, but the Pointy methodology solved or largely solved that problem. Basically, they had an add-on to the POS and they scanned, they just figured out what people were buying, and the high volume stuff they assumed would be in the store because it would be constantly on order, constantly replenished. It was a really simple and not totally foolproof, but really
Dependable.
high.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that they could just do that. Why couldn't they just give that to everybody I mean, the merchants don't want Google to infiltrate their POS, so that's a problem. But it's
What
it,
happened with Pointy? I don't know the background there.
so
They just
Pointy.
sold it and yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Krystal, go ahead.
I was like, they acquired it and then I think it just like I don't nothing happened with it.
Yeah.
They acquired it maybe so that it wouldn't become a larger competitor later.
Well, there's always
they
that.
acquired it and they kept it live for a number of years, sort of on the QT, and then it just died a quiet death. Along with they bought a restaurant POS system as well, order entry and remote ordering during COVID. That died as well. So they had ambitions in local, which they've put to the side, I think, because they did not scale to the $5
That's
billion, $10
100%.
billion level
100%.
quick enough.
It's too much like build the pyramids kind of work, brick by brick. And they just don't want to be involved in that because the money has.
Let's get back and
All right.
switch into
Okay,
what do businesses need to do now?
That's right. What are the tactical implications of everything we've been talking about? What should marketers do, invest in, think about, change?
That feels like the perfect place to hit pause for today. Thanks so much for joining us for part 1 of this Google I/O breakdown. Make sure to tune in next week for part 2, where we're going to dive deep into the tactical implications and discuss exactly what all of these changes mean for your day-to-day marketing tactics. We will see you then.